Welcome back to the show with no name. I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nakosha on the second hour for January 20th, 2012. Joined, getting to be on a regular basis, Robert Van Hasseln, the city historian. Somehow I had this on my mind. Well, you can be the city attorney.
I didn't insult you. Why are you insulting me?
I'm sorry. City historian for the city of Amsterdam. Anyway, we ended the last hour talking about the HAL meeting, and Gavin was giving us his version. But you know what? You're like the head honcho, big director.
So you want the
president for life. So we want the official version of. Well, we didn't really get into it too deeply. So.
The official version starts with I pleaded to get out of being.
I saw that. Yeah.
But they elected all the officers who had served in the first year. You know, we spent a couple of months doing that organizational thing. So last year really started our first full year, and this was the first annual meeting as required in the bylaws. And so it was a good opportunity to review what we've done for the year.
So what did you do?
Well, the first and smartest thing we did is we made a list of all the things we'd like to do, and then pared it down and realized that the first year out, the most important thing is to survive as an organization. To grow, to get money in the bank, to increase membership. We did that. And the reason is because you can go crazy going all over the place doing this and that and the other thing, but the fundamental reason for HAL being around is that because in the days of urban renewal and the arterials, there's no organized citizen's voice to say, wait a minute, let's stand up for our heritage, let's preserve it, and let's not be too quick to just take the Yankee dollar here and make mistakes. So our first goal was to survive and grow, which we accomplished. But in the meantime, I think we also did a very good job of splitting ourselves between the various different legs of our group program, if you will. The first of which is to inform, to get the information out there. And we did a tour of the Heart of Amsterdam tour, 8 sites, hundreds of people came. We opened up the Noteworthy Museum in coordination with its owner for the first time in a couple of years. We had 79 people in 2 hours just go through, including people from Albany, Saratoga, Schoharie. We wrote up 400 booklets, glossy, professional, 32-page, on the tour area, plus produce a set of 6 postcards, and they're all gone. So I think when you look at that, you look at things like the calendar. Maybe we have 10 left out of the 400.
I noticed the one from here is missing, so she must have
sold it. Yeah. That's happened to everyone that I've owned. I've had to end up giving it away or selling it. But so when you look at, like I said, 400 booklets, 400 calendars, I think it's a representation that bringing up the history of Amsterdam is encouraging more people to learn about it and to appreciate it and to support its role in revitalizing the city. So, and then we did other things. Another thing we did, we advocated for not cutting any further at the county archives, which, as you know from having extensively researched there, they had already cut back. Yeah. And then they decided to cut back to just the historian and the typist, which would basically mean we wouldn't be able to do our research.
Right, and, exactly right.
And you also know the importance because so much of our history is actually there because it was never collected here.
It's an incredible collection.
It's one of the best in the country.
It's one of the best in the country. Genealogy issues. It's the 3rd best collection in the state of New York after the New York Public Library and the New York State Library. That's how good the collection is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got involved with others in the county and advocated against that. And I'm proud to say no supervisor from the city of Amsterdam voted in favor of additional cuts. We got the dialogue on City Hall changed from full speed ahead, let's get out of here and rent it, to slow down, let's take a look at it and look for grants, which we obtained. We also fought to prevent my operating budget as city historian, which is minuscule, from being cut to literally 0, which is, after 50 years of never buying anything that we needed to, or we were required to under law, would have left me in a bad situation. No shelves, no boxes, no, no nothing. So that's a case where we've advocated. And I think we've also done a very good job of supporting. I mean, you and I were both there for Walter Elwood's evacuation day. I'm still healing up from some of the bites I got mucking about. I'm still, that was quite a day.
God knows what was in that salt, you know.
And
you know, I had these, these work gloves, and I'm literally just squeezing the wet clay to find artifacts that were in there. And I, found a few things, a little herringbone, this or that, whatever herringbone is. I don't know.
Steve Bonavent.
There were little hat pins and stuff I was finding in it. So it was a good thing I did that, or it would have gone out.
Yep.
But anyway, at one point I just go like this, right? Just like I do on the show. I don't go like this, but I just went like this, and it broke out immediately. So God knows, what we were exposed to.
Well, I recognize them as tiger bites because I'd had them in the Army, and I'm either very symptomatic. It looks like I lost an ice pick fight with a midget.
Yeah.
And because my other favorite memory, it's out now, it's no longer, it's closely held secret, was Jerry Schneider, Vice President of HAL, and I lifting the museum director in. This was a very precarious and unauthorized opening to go in there and save the artifacts before the further destruction occurred. So that's the kind of thing HAL does. I mean, we hope to continue that next year with a calendar if we don't need the money for City Hall, which we hope we're finished with. Then as the flood relief efforts taper off and the money stops coming in for Walter Elwood and Old Port Johnson, maybe we can start pushing some that way.
One of the advantages of having a million things on your table is that you got stuff to do as the years go by. I mean, you don't have to do everything the first year. And the first year you had the downtown or the what did you call it? The Heart of Amsterdam tour. Heart of Amsterdam tour. That was a nice name for it too. It covers that area. Now you're going to do the South Side this year.
Yeah, June 2nd.
Okay, there you go.
And we're already having to pare down. There are so many topics over there to talk about, to write about. And we've reached out to so many people. Like I've asked you to write the military piece over there. Yeah. The membership was like, well, maybe we got too much here for a 32-page booklet. But that was another one of our goals. And again, you're right about the year-by-year approach. Last year we did the Heart of Amsterdam booklet and we sold out. Next year we'll boost it up, but I'm sure we'll sell out on the South Side booklet.
Sure.
And if we keep doing that every year, a different area, a different topic, in 10 years, we'll
have a nice catalog.
Really nice collection of Amsterdam history up on the shelf, plus the postcards. And the money we raise off of it all goes towards local historic preservation projects. So I think it was a pretty good year, and in addition, we did things like we started to look at some of the things we couldn't look at first. But again, using that graduated year-by-year approach, we established a historical marker program. And Amsterdam Beautification Committee put down the first $1,000 into a special fund for that. We hope to create more of those classic New York State yellow and gold markers around the city for various places that
as local markers or as state markers?
Well, officially there's no more state markers.
State markers.
The state stopped authorizing them, stopped funding them, stopped even producing them. You used to be able to buy them, even when they were no longer funding them. You could buy them from Corecraft, the Corrections Corporation. But now it's totally privately run.
Well, we put one in front of City Hall while I was there, the Sanford Mansion, and one of my crowning achievements as city attorney was I wrote the script for that sign. Who was the historian then?
It would have been Dorothea Cooper.
Oh, Dorothea Cooper, sure. So Dorothea comes in and she says, "This is how many characters you can have on each line." Do it. That was it. Do it. So we came up with that, and it was pretty good. But I don't know how that got paid for or who did what. That would have been it was after we dug up the we put it over the time capsule, but it was after we had dug up the one, so it was probably after 2004, maybe 2005, something like that.
Where's the new time capsule?
The same
Where
place.
is it?
It's right under the sign,
Is
actually.
it?
Yeah, the sign marks the spot. And it's in much better shape than the
I was
other
going to say,
one.
the original one, they had a time looking for, it, had a time finding it.
Well, there wasn't much left of it, is what happened. It had broken and disintegrated, and almost everything in it had disintegrated. There were very few artifacts were saved from it. So this time, it's in a sealed coffin.
Stainless steel.
Everything in it is shrink wrapped, including the DVD player for the DVDs that were buried with, on the theory that
There may not be DVD players.
it won't be. It probably won't be. They're hardly there now. You know, we're almost at the point where we don't need them now, with all the memory. You know.
That's a common problem with time capsules. It's not just like, another Amsterdam mistake. The great exhibit out at the Strong Museum in Rochester, where they show one that was bad. It's very easy to happen if you don't take the precautions. But no, the state doesn't pay for them or manufacture them. There's 2 foundries down on the Hudson that still do it for the state design. It costs generally about $800 to $1,000 a casting.
And we can decide what places in the community they're erected at. We can determine this is something you need to be cognizant of. This is what history was here. This is what took place.
Either new or replacing ones that have been lost.
You know, aside from the one in front of the city hall, are there any within the city limits?
Yeah, I was one to the union organizer Mother Lake down by the mall.
Oh, that's right, down by the mall. That's fairly recent.
There were 3. This is a good case in point of what I'm talking about. There were 3 right next to each other, where I think it's California Avenue hits 5S down on the south side.
Yep.
Cleveland Avenue?
Cleveland Avenue.
I was going to say California.
No, I'm thinking about Monopoly. That's another project. I'm making an Amsterdam Monopoly.
Yeah, next to Mediterranean and Baltic.
And there were 3 markers down there. I don't know why there were 3, but they were like, you know, this is where William Johnson's first house was. This was where William Johnson's first store was. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't one there. You know, this is where Sir William Johnson took his first bath.
But you fooled us there.
Yeah.
There's one at Guy Park. I forgot about that.
All 3 of those are missing. Nobody knows where they went to.
Do we know where they were?
Yes, we do. You know, it's in fact the official state website, which kind of indicates where everything is supposed to be.
You know,
it still shows them as
in the Collier photographs from 1941. There was a series of 3 and 4 Hunter. Probably at the site of the fort. It wasn't clear from the pictures what they were actually portraying, but I went up there. They're not there. The markers aren't
Really?
there. Yeah.
How long ago did you go?
Well, right after the flood.
Okay, because I got up about a year ago, and the 3 I think were still standing there right
flood might
by
have
the lock.
relocated.
Probably.
You saw them where?
They were right by the old remnants of the lock, the control lock,
Yeah.
and they were right before the bridge that went over.
Okay. I didn't see them. I'm not saying they're not there because it wasn't clear from the pictures where exactly they were, but I drove all over Fort Hunter and found them no place.
I've got to go back and check and see if the one for this...
Because they might have gone down with the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The canal store on the south side, I have to go back and see if that's been put back. Because when that went down for the Bridge Street improvements, I was like, hey, who's got this? And let's make sure it doesn't disappear. The engineer was holding on to it. We got to make sure it goes back in an appropriate location. And there's probably a couple more around the city that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But there are many places.
Well, you know, we're doing this World War II thing on Sunday, and
oh no, we are.
I was talking about this. Reminded me of one of my favorite artifacts, which we probably will not bring on Sunday, but for a long time in the city engineer's office, it may still be there in the private office for the engineer, there was a plaque from the old Pulaski Bridge. All right, and I'd go in there and I'd be conducting business with the city engineer, and after looking at this plaque for many months, I suddenly realized that there was graffiti on it that had been covered up and washed down, but was still visible. and the graffiti said, "F the Japs." And so, you know, this is a piece of World War II graffiti that's still floating around in City Hall.
I thought you were going to tell me I was going to say Kilroy was here.
No, no, that's close. That originated in North Africa in '42, right?
Yeah, there's some indications that it might have started earlier in Northern Ireland in the shipyards.
Really?
Yeah, there are different stories as to
How Kilroy got there.
one of the things, there's a story that says Kilroy was actually an American shipping inspector, and he used to go around when ships were, Liberty ships were being built, and he would write Kilroy was here on the keel or something, so he'd know people he'd have been inspecting it. That's one story.
That's an interesting story, but you would think that would be easy one to track down.
You would think, oh well, there are actually some, you know, there are at least 2 Kilroys who say, I was the Kilroy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But what's more interesting is if you remember that classic kind of shape, it's the guy who's looking over
Right,
the wall
right,
yeah.
with his long nose hanging down. I think in England they call him Chad or Chaz. But Chaz or Chad was here with the little drawing, started appearing in England early on in the war. So I think probably it was North Africa where the English image and the American expression hook up and kind of merge, and we get Kilroy's here. Like when we were talking about the windmill, and you wanted to put up the sign that said, you know, when it busted,
Kilroy. Don Quixote was
I
there.
said, well, you know,